And in these times, focus on execution. There is absolutely no room for error. Money is scarce. Time is scarce. Somebody else is going to move into your position. By the way, these lessons are usually, in general, I think, for an entrepreneur when they're building the business. But today, in these times, there is absolutely no room for error. Very interesting slide, I thought. And there's a couple of other slides which I had included, but I took out in view of the time. And again, this was something which is just done now a couple of months ago by E&Y, and they asked the question, what are entrepreneurs doing? And they compared it to some of the multinational companies. And again, this was touched upon, I think, in the session before lunch. But have a look. Have a look at what was the guidelines here. You can see that at the top, mature multinationals were securing the present, 74% of the respondents. And again, if you could see in the small, I don't know if you could see in the small print, but the survey was done taking into account, I think, more than 300 board executives of global companies. And for entrepreneurs, they asked more than 3,000 winners and finalists from the E&Y Entrepreneur of the Year Award. So it's a very, very good survey, very good benchmark. And they said 74% securing the present, 90% pursuing new market opportunities. Have a look at the next row. Strategic growth companies. It's entrepreneurs. And this is not technology, non-technology at various stages. 67% pursuing new market opportunities. And that's the big difference. This is the time for entrepreneurs to go out there and to grab market share. And that's what they want to do. Again, to switch, in a sense, to the third part of my presentation. Often, venture capital funds are lambasted, they're criticized, they get a lot of criticism. Why are you wasting our time? Why do you see us? What are you doing? Why don't you come back to us with an answer? I found this on a blog posted by a venture capitalist called Jeff Busgang out of the United States. And he said, and just to share with you from my perspective, our perspective, that the trick in this business, and again, it's not just for venture funds, I think this should be for any investor, is to spend very little time on a lot of deals and then a lot of time on a few deals. In other words, filter, and then spend a lot of time, and then you spend a lot of time on and then you will first filter the deals, and then you spend a lot of time on a very few deals. And this, in a sense, is what we're doing today. I think what venture capitalists have learned, particularly, since the dot-com era, is to look at as many opportunities as you can, to see what is out there, and then to focus in on those particular deals that you think have the most potential. And so the next question which I would expect entrepreneurs out there to ask is, so how do we overcome the 99% filter? What things are venture funds or investors looking for? So let me highlight just a few. Entrepreneurs, startups, they need to come very clearly and address the market need. They need to identify what are the market drivers. They need to address what are the pain points, what are the inefficiencies, and what gap are they filling in the market. There are a lot of entrepreneurs out there, a lot of people with a lot of ideas, but more often than not, what I find is that it takes at least 2 or 3 or 4 sessions that I have with an entrepreneur to focus them and say, what are you trying to solve? It may be a wonderful idea to you, but it's only to you. Have you gone out and spoken to customers, potential customers? And often what happens is the entrepreneur goes away, comes back to me in 4 months. He says, look, this is what I've done. This is what I found out. I send him out again. I said, yes, but you've missed a certain point. Is this really a pain point? Is this just an add-on? Is this really something that is required out there in the market? Is somebody else doing that? Which comes to my next point and my next comment often to them. Make sure the market for your product and your service is not too niche. It has to be scalable. And again, I do not knock, and I always say this to entrepreneurs, you can have a wonderful idea, it can be a great technology or a great thought or a great service. You could even make money from it, but it may not be the winner. It may not turn into a $50 million company or a $100 million company. It may be a company that gives you a nice living. It may give you a nice income, but it's not going to grow into a company that you can then live off for the rest of your life in terms of the dream, because something has to be scalable. Work the sums. Another point, Even if you come, and even if you focus on what is required in the marketplace, and even if you say it's scalable, you need to show a clear path to revenue in a specific time frame, especially in these times. I know that many entrepreneurs sitting in the audience and many that I speak to often complain that in Singapore there is not enough capital coming for early stage ventures which are pre-revenue, and I agree 100% with you. It's something that I've been talking about a lot for many years, and many of the government agencies are doing a valiant job to correct that, including Spring, who's leading that, I believe, and the NRF and other organizations. But on one hand, you can complain that companies don't want to invest if you're pre-revenue, but if you come to me, we'll look at you if you're pre-revenue. But if you can't show me within a space of 2 or 3 years how you're going to get to revenue, then you have a problem. And have a unique strategy. You've got to create barriers to entry. Regardless if you're a technology company or not a technology company, you've got to create barriers to entry. Technology is a way to create barriers to entry. Technology leadership. But it doesn't mean you have to have the cutting edge technology. It doesn't mean you have to have the latest and the greatest. And again, I just come back to the point I began with about Israel. Many times people say, yes, but in Israel they have such great technology and you've done it and you've got research institutes and you've spent 50 years doing it. You know, we can't do that in Singapore. I said, you don't have to come up with the greatest and the cutting edge technology. You don't have to be the pioneer. There is room to do that. The biotechnology space, the nanotechnology space, that's needed. The government has a very strong objectives with regard to that. It's very important. But I said, for entrepreneurs, you don't need to have always cutting edge, but you need to create a unique strategy. You need to create barriers to entry. You need to try and create a first mover advantage.